Hello, my name is Diane L. Andersen, a historical fiction author, here to share with you one of my short stories that was featured in the Clarion Call, Volume 2, titled The Echoes of Liberty. This was a collection of anthologies that is put out by the Agorist Writers Workshop. They chose my short story because it was a historical fiction based on an ancestor of mine who actually lived through a harrowing experience during the Civil War while living in Missouri. Now, Missouri was a divided state within a divided nation, which made things even more tense than it already was. My grandfather was a farmer, and who also a deacon at his church, a devout man, who chose to remain neutral during the war. But one morning, actually, two Confederate soldiers came to his door, and it changed his world forever, turning it upside down and nearly destroying the mind of one of his youngest children, his daughter Emma. So I'd like to read for you the story, or a little bit of the story of the vacant chair. Emma had not spoken in more than a year. It pained me to say the words to the young man sitting in my parlor. A father's pride, I suppose, or a desperate need to keep my daughter safe. What good could this upstart Bible scholar do for her that nearly every doctor east of the Mississippi could not? The last one from Boston, who claimed to have a special way with her type of affliction, was less than useless. James Burke, soon to be a Methodist preacher, sat in the front parlor of our farmhouse. Assigned to our church for the year, it was my duty as deacon to bid him welcome. I knew he took a shine to Emma right off, and in spite of her affliction. But he was so young, even younger than my daughter by 3 years. The daughter who hid silently in the shadows of her room, refusing to go outdoors to the place where it all happened. How was I to know then that this former Confederate soldier, this man who'd participated in Price's raid of '64, would make all the difference? He would bring my daughter back to me, only to take her away again. Outside the grass grew green as it had that day, that dreadful day. I wish I could race from my dear child's memory, from all of our memories. Just as the nation torn asunder for 4 long years would one day find unity and healing, so would my Emma, or so I prayed. She is my youngest, my beautiful Emma. All the others are gone now, off and married. That's what I told Mr. Burke on the day he first noticed her peeking through the curtains. Can it be that another year has gone and I am to give her away to the man who gave her back to me? How the irony of our life ebbs and flows in ways we can never fathom. Papa, how do I look? Her voice is sweet, so sweet to hear after so long, and yet there is still that edge of pain, that quiver as if sliced and laid bare as a bloody wound. But no mark was ever made upon her by them, at least none that could be seen. Yet she is a casualty of war as much as if... But I mustn't think on that now. She is lovely in the wedding gown, though not her mother's, the soft blue silk worn by all my other daughters. No, my youngest insisted she have a new gown, made especially for this day, one of a pale yellow, for remembrance. The color of sunlight, she told her mother when we ordered it from the mercantile, the sun as it rises in the east. Perhaps she was right. It is a time to put the past aside and move forward, a new beginning. You are exceedingly lovely, my dear. I barely speak the words. There is a silence between us, an unspoken pact I know she will hold me to. Are you ready? I say. Shall we go to him? She nods. It's not her groom she seeks at this moment. I know there is one more deed, one more task to attend before we travel to the church. I want to tell him. I want to say... She draws in a long, ragged breath. What I should have said then. Her piercing blue-gray eyes glisten with that pleading look I remember from her childhood. You still have them, don't you? You'll keep them always, in case... Yes, my daughter, I said I would, and I shall. She nods her head and takes my hand. We walk out to the small place behind the farm. As we walk, Emma says, Is it so odd to be connected to someone you've known such a short while? I don't answer at first. She could be speaking of her intended, the young preacher who waits for us at the church to take her hand in marriage, the one who only a year ago sat in my parlor and spoke to me of hope and God's healing grace. But I know she means another. The small stone looks misshapen among the overgrowth under the grove of elms behind our barn. I've not tended it as well as I ought. It was autumn, a full 2 years into the war that some now call civil, and some say was northern aggression. I had resolved to keep myself, our family, and if at all possible, as much of our little flock at Smith Chapel Methodist Church, as far from the conflict as possible. Not an easy feat, considering we lived in central Missouri, right on the crossroads of the nation, where both slaveholder and abolitionists hotly contested their views. That's just a little portion that I'd like to share with you from my story. There are many more in the Echoes of Liberty, and there are other novels, other volumes of anthologies within the Clarion Call. I think they're up to volume 5 now. So please take a look at them and check out what the Agorist Writers Workshop has to offer for every taste in genre that readers may have. And it may give you something to do as you're passing time at home. I hope, like my great-great-grandfather mentions in the story, there will be healing and peace and hope as we endure these days in our isolation, and we'll find togetherness through our love of reading. You can find more about my stories and information on my Facebook page at Diane L. Andersen or D.L. Andersen, or I have a Twitter page as well, and a Facebook, dlanderson.com. Thank you for listening.